So I usually wait 10 seconds and then start. Hello, everyone, and welcome to Answer the Call. Continuing with the theme of Answer the Call, we're continuing with having more guests, and just I was talking about it just before this, like, hey, I want to talk to my friends. I've been so busy with other things that I haven't been talking to my friends as much. So I thought, what a great time to have the AstroPub on. We've been actually meaning to do this.
We're friends.
Yeah, we've been meaning to do this for some time, actually. Is to talk about lore a little bit more and things like that, because I still have not gotten into it, and you've kind of become somewhat of the lore guy. What do you think about that? I am the
lore guy in Star Citizen.
I'm
not just the lore guy,
no.
But I like the fact that people come to me for the lore.
Yeah. Is that something you set out to be, or is it something that just kind of happened naturally?
Well, and it actually has a lot to do with my, like, I started getting into Star Citizen lore, and then I realized what Cig wants to do with the lore, and I was like, someone's gonna have to be that guy or that gal or that person who is like making those videos, because if you go on YouTube, like Star Wars, Star Trek, Halo, Warhammer 40K, like every kind of all of them, including Minecraft, like all of them have lore people, like people who do lore on the game, that they do videos on it pretty frequently.
Sure.
And like, it's gonna happen with Star Citizen at some point. I might as well be that person. So
yeah, true. Like, I for some reason, I think just through Asmongold, I follow like some World of Warcraft people, and like the amount of lore discussions that go on there is crazy. And yeah, finding that little niche within this game that's probably, or has a really good chance of being really big, is a smart, like, it's just a smart move. And I feel like we discussed it a long time ago, but yeah, I mean, it was definitely something. So what does Cig want to do with the lore? You mentioned that. Like, after finding out what Cig wants to do with the lore, what do you mean by that?
So, from very early on, Chris said that he wanted to make the game dynamic. And one of the big things he talked about was that individual events in game would only happen once, or would happen in a way that would be put down as players would go into lore. But the other thing he mentioned was that he wanted a living, breathing universe where knowledge of the universe mattered. That if you knew the right people, you did the right things, things would happen the right way.
Yeah.
So I knew pretty quickly on what he was saying was, if you played, and especially if you've played old Chris Roberts games, if you backed one faction in a fight, the other faction's going to not like you.
Yeah.
And possibly other factions who are connected to that faction won't like you. So it goes to the point where, if you, right now, it's just like, well, I'm just going to do any mission I want to. But, you know, in the near future, which is closer than people think because of the addition of the reputation system, eventually you do the wrong thing to the wrong people, you're going to get attacked by the other faction constantly, or you're just going to show up to Port Olisar and they're going to be like, lol, get out.
Yeah.
Bye. Go. Leave. Or we're going to kill you with our rail guns that we have installed in the station now. It doesn't matter if you're no longer a criminal anymore. We don't like you because you tried to murder our, CEO or whatever. Like, those things will start to matter a lot more. Sure. And so it became an issue where, if you don't know who the Ninetales are, or who Xenothreat is, or who Crusader Industries is, you could possibly step on the wrong landmine in the wrong conversations and then end up blowing up your game to the point where you're like, oh, well, I can't scum save and come back to it. So it makes it more sense to kind of start from the beginning, right? On the right foot. Know what you're getting into.
Sure. Oh, I didn't think that was going to happen. I bring up your YouTube channel now because I wanted to ask you something, like, starting from the beginning. What would you say, and this is, I kind of asked my chat a few questions that they thought would be a good idea to ask you, and one of them was, where's a good place to start? What would you say is a good place to start? And I know that you have a video that does that for yourself, called The Beginner's Guide to Star Citizen Lore. So is that, do you think the best place to start would be just like that YouTube video that obviously provides a good couple places to start?
Yeah, that's the reason why I made that. Was the Beginner's Guide to Star Citizen Lore is a 4-part series. Starts with a very basic intro to get people understand like the elevator pitch for Star Citizen Lore.
Sure.
And then after that, it's 3 videos, one on the timeline, one on the lore of the universe that you're in, like with Stanton System, and then the last one is the factions that are in play, that we know, the big factions in play. But once you've gone through that and you still want more information, what you can do is I would suggest going to starcitizen.tools or the Galactopedia and just kind of browsing through those.
Oh, the Galactopedia is so cool. Yeah.
It's a lot cooler than people realize.
Yeah, that is the only bit of like lore stuff that I've actually kind of dove into, is that each week or every couple weeks actually, Cherry updates like a few posts on like it's usually like 5 to 10 posts on the Galactopedia, and there's always some like interesting little things there. Maybe it's like a certain, I don't know, material or item or something like that, or a company or whatever. And I don't know, I always find that pretty cool. Are there any like hidden gems there that come to mind that people should check out?
One of the big ones is the animals. A lot of people don't know about the animals of the verse. They have lots of discussions, like for instance, the blind Oni crab.
That's
blind
the
Oni
big crab,
is,
right?
No.
Okay.
The blind Oni crab is it's like a Metroid that explodes.
Okay.
It's so at the end of the 2016 CitizenCon video, when they go to Loreville at the very end, they pull back and you see all of these little floating things that are going towards the player.
That.
Those are so the thing about that lore behind those things is that they eat garbage.
Okay.
And they float because of they use hydrogen gas. They have a natural process that produces hydrogen gas.
Okay.
And anyone who knows what hydrogen gas does, when you put a flame to it, it explodes. It's the Hindenburg, basically. Yeah. So, and these things pod together in groups. So they eat garbage and they hang around garbage. So Loreville is just filled with these things. And if you try to shoot one, it'll explode. And if it explodes, it might hit the other ones and cause a chain reaction. So if you want to see 1,000 different mini Hindenburgs go off, this is one of those things that like CIG's been making. And I guarantee you it's going to be a kill 50 Oni crabs situation. But instead of like kill 50 Oni crabs, you're going to sit there and you're going to blow up one and you're going to hit one and it's going to go boom and an explosion, and you're gonna be like, oh, I'm gonna kill all of these things, and it's just gonna watch the explosions because we like explosions as Star Citizen fans. So it's a cool little thing. Then there's the Yeti, the Microtech Yeti, the Rantas, which apparently live in caves and are based off of. There's no pictures of the Rantas, but they're based off of. Why am I blanking on the name? There's a specific. Let me pull it up.
I don't see Ranta on unless I'm spelling it wrong, on the Galactopedia though. So you might know that through a different bit of lore.
Yeah, I'm looking it through the Star Citizen tools. Okay. They only have Ranta Dung, but. Let me look it up real quick. I forgot the name. It's based off of a specific type of isopod. Yeah, okay, that's what it is. There's a link for Ranta Dung, which is a little thing you pick up in caves.
Yeah.
A Ranta is an isopod. And if you see what an isopod is on land, we know them as roly-polies. You know, like the little tiny pill bugs. In the ocean, they get huge. So, and some of the smaller ones will literally eat the tongues out of fish and replace them. and just live in fish's mouths and consume food while the fish is swimming around. So if you're looking for a chest burster in the Star Citizen universe, the Ranta is probably the closest thing, and it's mentioned a couple times. It's mentioned in the reunion video.
Okay.
She says, when she's trying to get herself psyched up with the in the turret, she says, "Come on, you like something Rantas, let's go." So it's like a rat, I think, is in the Star Citizen universe, but it's like a bug. It's like a pill bug.
Sure.
So
interesting.
That's one of those things where, for instance, I'm pretty sure that those find those bodies missions will eventually be find the body, but be careful because Rantas have already laid their eggs in it. So you get to it, and it's just going to explode into tiny little Rantas that you're going to have to take care of because they live in dead creatures. A lot of isopods do. So
that, yeah, I mean, I think that comes down to that's like one of the things about the caves that we don't really go to them right now very much, right? Because there's nothing like super exciting that can really happen at them. But man, I mean, they kind of hinted at stuff like that coming in the future, but the caves, and then again, obviously we saw in ISC this week, they're a little bit larger caves, things like that. Should be pretty fun. I don't know. I think I think the next thing I would want to ask you is about the Imperator elections. So they happened pretty recently at the same time as the American elections, and it was my understanding that the person who won was almost like a meme and wasn't expected to win, right? Because there's not supposed to be AI in Star Citizen, but she's ran on pushing AI. Right? So I guess tell me a little bit more about like the process and like, did you enjoy that? But then we can go more into like the significance of this specific Imperator. Addison, that's right. Like somebody typed it in chat. I forgot the name.
So the process of Imperator is this is something that's important because it goes a little bit further back into lore. The Imperator as a job was at first basically the domain of Space Hitler. It was a super fascist who had a lot of kids who also were super fascists until they were overthrown.
That guy?
The Mezzers. Ivar Mezzer was the first one. Yeah. And eventually they were overthrown, and they tried to reinstate, something like a democracy in the UAE. But they kept the Imperator as kind of an elected position. So the Imperator runs for 10 years, and they can't run again. So there's term limit of one term, but they go off for a decade.
Yeah.
So the process is super democratic, at least in the beginning. Anyone can run for Imperator. All you need is to post a video on a specific website or some specific site on their version of the internet, which is called Spectrum, which is why Spectrum on the website is called Spectrum, because that's the in-game universe's internet. And once you get enough votes in that first round, then you move on to the second round. So you need to have the top 10 of those candidates will go to the second round. And then the top 5 of those in the second round of voting, and then those top 5 will then be voted on for the final. And whoever has the most votes at the very end wins. It's called and
that's what we
ranked choice system. And that's what we voted, was top 5.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And the thing about it is that there are political parties in the Star Citizen universe, but there is no limit. You could have 5 people from the same party be in that final group, or you could have no one from those parties be in that final group. It all depends on the votes. So what it came down to was, and I'll have to explain a little bit about the parties to understand. You've got 3 parties in the Star Citizen universe. One is the Universalist, then the Centralists, and then the what's more like the Centralist, Universalists, and the Transitionalists. The Universalists are kind of like they're they're kind of like the moderate party.
Okay.
They want the government to get involved in things, but they also like the free market and want to promote the free market more. They're just they just don't like government control over everything.
Okay.
Then you have the centralists, who are like the old blue blood party. They're the wealthy elite. They're like, yeah, let's get rid of power in the UEE and give it back to the individual corporations. They look at places like Stanton, which is run entirely by corporations, and said, see, no one's getting abused. Let's just give all the power to the corporations.
Nobody's getting abused.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Look, they've got a golden palace that people live in. Ignore all the garbage. And they hate the Xi'an. They're essentially like the leftover people who didn't like the Mezzers being tyrannical, but liked everything else about the Mezzers.
Gotcha.
So they're that kind of party. The party that the Xeno threat would probably be the most associated with.
Gotcha.
And then you've got the Transitionalists, who are kind of more on the liberal side. They're more central liberal. They still believe in like opening up the markets, but they're very much Terra, the planet Terra in the star system. They're like, yeah, let's make Terra the center of the UEE because it's better, and not because we're all from Terra, because we like the power. But they also want to do things like they want to incorporate more the Tavaran into the government more. They want to give civilians more rights as well. Okay. Like they want to remove in either reduce or remove the citizen civilian divide.
Okay.
Which again, it's getting back into the other thing where I'm not going to even go into the citizen civilian divide. Watch the video, please.
Yeah, I'll link that one because I'm actually curious about that.
Yeah. The shortest version of that is that there are two different types of people or types of residents in the UEE. There's the people who just live in the UEE and were born in the UEE, who are citizens or civilians, and then you have the people who have to do service to the UEE to get their citizenship. And those people are called citizens. And citizens have basically the same rights as civilians, except for citizens it makes it easier for citizens to go from system to system, because the UEE works like a federal democracy. So like every planet or every system is mostly in charge of itself, because the UEE just is so big, it can't take care of everybody.
Of course.
So like, Terra, do what you want. Just don't break these 6 laws and you're good. Just, you make your own laws, do your own things. We don't want to mess with you too much.
Gotcha.
So in general, citizens really don't care, because most citizens will live their entire lives out in the planet they're born on. And the people who become citizens versus civilians, people who become citizens are the ones who are like, hey, I want to see the galaxy. I want to run a big corporation. Yeah. I want to go flying, and I don't have the ability to buy a spaceship, kind of thing.
So you'll do your service and then you're good.
Yeah. Gotcha. Sunboat soldiers. Yes.
So let's talk about Addison.
So Addison won because she's kind of a meme. People really want AI in Star Citizen.
Okay.
So they thought that by voting for Addison, they would make AI faster. But she also ran on the platform of education and science. And we have a bunch of space nerds, who knew in the Star Citizen community. Crazy. So they like education and science.
Yeah.
So she won on that. But the big thing about her is that she doesn't have a party affiliation. So she is a non-party person. She's just a professor. And when she got elected, right now in the lore, she's having some struggles because she's not a party person. None of the parties want to work with her. But she is finding some unique kind of things that she can do to make the parties listen to her. She fast-tracked an AI bill through using a loophole that allowed for if something hadn't been brought up on the floor of the Senate for a certain number of years, it's like 25 years, then the Imperator had a right to bring it directly back to the floor for review and offer changes if they wanted to. And so this bypassed a committee so that they doesn't have to get locked in bureaucracy forever. Okay. But even then, she's like, yeah, it's still going to take 10 years for us to do this. So
Gotcha. Now, science, education, and AI. Can we expect to see anything in Star Citizen? Like, what? She's here. What can we expect in the game Star Citizen because she's here? Do you think? I guess in the short term, but then, short term probably not much, but in the long term is more what I'm asking. What do you like based on what you know and what you know? You could just spitball and kind of imagine.
So, yeah. So the first thing is AI is going to be more of an issue in the game.
Okay.
In the sense that I feel like missions, and they've even said this. They said that if she won, instead of the missions being go take care of this illegal AI research, it's this legal AI research base is now gone rogue, and you have to go deal with them.
Okay.
But also things like, for instance, she is introducing what's called the Xenoscience Foundation, which is a group of people that'll meet in New York in the end of this year, that will invite Gian, Tavarin, and Banu scientists to come talk and have an interspecies exchange of science, as well as she is the first person to she put the first Tavarin in her cabinet, the first Tavarin ever to go into the advisory role into the government, high positions of government, which are big things. The thing about that is that you have to understand that the Xeno threat is an anti-Xeno group. They don't like the Xenos. In fact, they think that the Xenos have infiltrated the UEE and are trying to conquer the UEE. So I would expect that with Addison being Imperator, we're going to have more Xeno threat-like levels of events.
Okay.
With those kind of groups over the Star Citizen universe, as well as having more access to alien tech. So more alien commodities, more alien ships, more alien weapons, more alien armor. I think that's probably where they're going to go with it. And if you look at the roadmap as well as the progress tracker, it seems like that's also the thing. Okay. The Gian cargo ship is being worked on.
Yeah.
I wouldn't be surprised if they do more Gian, Tavarin stuff. So.
True. I guess this isn't anything that I actually wrote down, but you kind of got to it, is for the player who isn't paying as much attention, is there anything that you think they wouldn't know about this Xenothreat event based on any lore or anything like that?
So Xenothreat are the leaders of Pyro. There's one landing zone in Pyro, which is called Ruin Station.
Yeah.
And Xenothreat runs Ruin Station.
Gotcha.
So they're the most powerful gang in Pyro. Yeah.
Okay.
They are made up of mostly ex-UEE soldiers. So they're mostly made up of ex military personnel.
Sure.
But that's for their leaders. And then their like subordinates are usually mostly just gangs, but they've been fighting their entire lives, basically, since they've lived on Ruin Station. So when it's not unbelievable that they would manage to get their hands on several Idrises because they know the right peoples and do the right things. And they've been fighting a constant war for Ruin Station for decades.
Yeah, and this isn't just some random group that came out of nowhere then. Like, because that's how they looked to me. But, yeah, because I'm that person who doesn't pay a lot of attention to anything like that. It's like, oh, this new thing is here. Cool, let's see it. Let's check it out. But that's interesting. So we killed some Xeno threat Idrises. That's not the end of them.
Mm-hmm. No,
by any means.
No, they still.
Gotcha.
They're just going to go back to Pyro. Okay. And one of the things that I theorize and what might actually happen is they'll do CIG's writers like to do ripple effects where this one thing happens and then they start changing things around it because that's kind of how the world works, where one thing can happen and then it'll cause cascade effects. Mm-hmm. So I wouldn't be surprised if when we get access to Pyro, we find the Pyro system in an all-out gang war because the Xenothreat attacks failed And so all of the other gangs in the Pyro system
like
think that Xenothreat is weak. Yeah. And are trying to push their luck because they're like, hey, they lost all their Idrises. Let's take them down,
Interesting. So. Very interesting. So has that been hinted at all, or is that something that you just think might happen?
That's something I think might happen, but we already know that there's lots of gang wars, and specifically there's a little piece of lore that a lot of people overlooked, which is CIG released the Overlord Armor, which is a sub armor. It's just like a cool ratty armor, but in the description it says specifically that the Overlords are a vigilante group who live in Pyro, who attack criminals in Pyro. But they're seen as criminals by people in the UAE, but to them they're vigilantes. They're peacekeepers, and they've gotten a name for themselves because they kill Pyro criminals, Pyro gangs. So yeah, it says it on there. Some consider the Overlords heroes, others criminals.
Yep.
Yeah.
Interesting. That's actually really cool. So, yeah, like it's so crazy. I do not follow the lore closely, but it is undoubtable that the amount of attention to detail on every little thing is kind of what draws you into Star Citizen, does it not?
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah, the attention to detail is insane. Like everything. Brands have their own histories.
Yeah.
And as much as the lore is just on the website, a lot of this stuff is being built out so that when the game goes live, when you go, or when more stuff is added to the game, like mission givers and such, you'll start to feel like the universe is actually a living, breathing universe because they'll just reference things like, hey, let's go grab a Benny's or something like that. And if you know the lore, you know that Benny's is this mom and pop. It's this McDonald's that turned it that was originally just a small shit stand of selling to spacers, to then it expanded to being this mega corporation. Or as part of this mega corporation is this like everyone eats Big Benny's because there's a Big Benny's on every rest stop in the universe kind of thing. So
crazy. Yeah, that's so wild. Have you played Xenothreat a lot? What do you think about it?
I like it. I mean, other than the technical issues like low FPS and some weird bugs, I really enjoy it. I like it as the way things are going, because from a lore perspective as well, it's how they're going to tell stories. It's how they're going to tell stories in the long run. It feels like those events. Speaking of WoW early on, it feels like those events in WoW, because I remember when I played WoW back in the day, I didn't know there was an event going on, and I kind of logged in and I looked up, and there was this giant floating pyramid over one of the starter towns, and I was like, "What is going on? That wasn't there before. Is this something different? Is this something happening here?" And I think like that's kind of how I think CIG is going to do with their events. Is just kind of like one day you show up, you're trying to land, and suddenly you're being attacked by pirates.
Yeah.
But why? They're saying that they want my cargo. What? Why? What? These aren't players. What's going on?
Yeah. That's actually cool. Yeah. And I guess I was going to ask you, what'd you think about phase 1 phase 2 versus phase 3?
I liked phase 2.
Great.
Yeah, I like phase 2 a lot more, but only because phase 2 it involved everybody. You have to have people who are cargo haulers. You have to have people who are willing to kind of move stuff. You have to have people who are defending those cargo haulers. You had different types of. It felt like it was much more thought out. And phase 3 is just kill the Idris, which is cool. Don't get me wrong.
Yeah,
that's awesome. But it's really easy to kill an Idris.
I thought it just was like underwhelming. It was this big climate. I feel so bad for the developers, because I feel like they spent so much time and put their like blood, sweat, and tears in this thing, and it was just kind of like, and the explosion was big and cool, but I did it 15 times in 2 hours yesterday.
Yeah.
And it was just like, like phase 2 was like, and then phase 3 was like, okay.
Yeah.
Back to Star
Then phase 3.
Yeah.
I think phase 3, I don't know if I haven't played phase 2 yet, but is phase 2 the one where you just kill one Idris?
No, phase 1 was the attention people of Stanton.
Yeah,
phase 2 was the boxes.
Was the cargo run.
Phase 3 was kill the Idris, then 2 more pop up. And then you kill those.
So yeah. So yes, that's the thing.
And then you log out of that server and start another. Because there's an hour between them or something. Each event, 2 hours between them. So
and I think that's the major difference is that it felt like you were achieving something with phase 2. With phase 3, it's more like 15 minutes, I'm done. Let's move on. Yeah. You know, it feels less like, and it put a lot of work into it, obviously. And it's cool to see a javelin show up and just start laying waste to a couple of Idrises. But by the time the javelin shows up, everyone's already torped the things to death.
Yeah. I feel like the skill level, it's kind of funny because it's not really skillful, but the like moving boxes efficiently was more tactile, rewarding, and felt good than the skill of firing at a spaceship at 11 FPS. And, you know, for the most part, clicking your missile button twice, and that's about it. I mean, I was just watching SCL with the stream before you got on, and, I mean, it seems really the reason why it was so easy was because the servers just suck, and the ships would have been much more challenging if everything was normal, you know? But when are we going to see normal, you know? It's
when are we going to see? That's a good question. Yeah.
It's going to be a long time before we see normal. I mean, I guess I'll be a little bit of the Debbie Downer here, but like this morning I woke up and I was like, man, I'm so kind of just like meh about this game right now, just because I feel like I don't have a lot to do. I feel like I've done everything, and when you're looking at the roadmap and what's coming in 3.13, even 3.14, it's not a lot of I can't wait to dive into object push and pull. Like, what, you know, like there's not a whole lot there. So what I really hope is some of the things that we saw in this mission we'll see kind of go into the PU, like moving some of these interesting boxes, things like that. But yeah, I mean, how do you feel about the next like 6 months to a year of Star Citizen? I kind of been asking everybody this as they come on, because I made a video and recently that was, this is not the year of Star Citizen. This is not going to be the year. And the reason it's not going to be the year is no server meshing, most likely. So what do you think?
I think CIG, let me put it this way. Mike, what is February usually for Star Citizen?
Planning week.
It sucks, right?
But so is January.
For us content creators, yeah, so is January. But I mean, that's what I mean. Like, it sucks. Between January and March, it's just, I got other games I can catch up on. Maybe I'll go play that. I feel like players themselves do the same thing. It's like, well, it's been fun for the last couple of weeks of the year. Let's just, I got, Cyberpunk came out. Let's go play this other game. I'll be back in Star Citizen when they actually have content. Because it just does nothing. And the thing that Xenothreat did was brought people back to the game in a time when they wouldn't normally be playing.
Timing of it was good.
I have, and I think that's sort of something I'd hope that CIG learns from in the future, which is events bring people back to the game. So launch a new patch, wait until the 0.1 patch, and then do an event. That way people go, oh yeah, cool, new patch. I'll go to play all this new stuff. Oh, well, I'm going to be done with. And then, attention, people of Stanton. Oh, okay, we're back in for this one. All right, let's come back in. I got time. Let's do this.
Yep.
So it helps, I think, bring people back into the universe, and that is key when it comes to when it comes to developing this game, because as you said, we're not going to get server meshing to the end of the year.
Yeah,
and I think that's going to be the saving grace of this year. Yeah,
I think that's even Chris is like, Chris is the like unapologetic optimist about everything, it seems like, right? So even when he's saying it's a maybe, then it's probably not going to be a thing, is how I look at it. And yeah, and I said, like, that doesn't mean that this year isn't going to be a good year, right? It just means it's not going to be like the year that you go, whoa, you know, like, it's happening, we're here. So this last year was very similar, right? Where not much happened in terms of like big tech hurdles, but we saw a lot of like little fixes that were really good and made the game more engaging and more fun, and were just better. What was just better, but yeah. I guess go ahead.
I'll finish up on my thought with that, which is very, very basic. It's like, I think this year is going to be an incremental change where things are going to become better. And I think this is going to be the best year for being a gamer who plays the game. I don't think it's a good game for any of the content that you want, but it's going. CIG's doing sneaky stuff, like they're doing sneaky salvage, which is it's salvage tier 0, which again could completely flop and not come out. But CIG seems to want to do sneaky salvage and sneaky, like they're doing the small little, like, we're going to get you tier 0 here, tier 0 here, tier 0 here. They seem to be confident enough that like iCache is going to be coming in, or whatever they've replaced iCache with, because it's no longer called iCache. Apparently, it's now called persistent streaming.
Yeah.
And they seem to be pivoting away from saying, "Oh, wait for this big pillar to come out, and then the game's gonna be better," and more doing these. Hey, we're just gonna release gameplay, and the pillars are gonna be coming in as they come. We're just not gonna tell you when they come out. We're just going to keep doing this. I feel like server meshing is going to be the exception, but I feel like that's one of those things that Chris Roberts wants to walk on stage into a CitizenCon and be like, server meshing is out, enjoy, goodbye, because Chris Roberts has to be the center of attention. Gotcha. He has to has his stage moment.
Of course, and so, he deserves it. It's fine. So Astro, I'm getting a little crackle out of your side. I'm gonna try and reset my voice meter.
Give me 1 second to reset my stuff.
Yeah. And maybe that will fix it.
That better?
Try again. No, like, don't try again. I saw your mouth move, and then
I
think there might be a delay.
Talking. Hello.
I think that's fine. Okay.
Okay.
I don't hear the crackle anymore. That's for sure.
Okay.
But there might be a little delay in your sound now.
I think I refreshed this, so I don't know if that helped it. Let me try it again. No more delays.
I think you're good now.
Okay.
Yay.
I guess fix it. Okay.
Sweet. The next thing I was going to ask you about is Pyro a little bit more. I think you touched on it with Xeno threat. Is there anything else? Okay. Has anything changed? Because remember when Pyro first came out, I remember it was like one of the first systems. Like, I used to obsessively look at the Lore Maker's Guide to the Galaxy type content and be like, all right, when this system comes out, what am I going to do there? And then and imagine how I would act as like a miner, a cargo hauler, that kind of stuff. It was a pretty dead system. It was completely mined out. It was I think a lot of the planets were like almost inhabitable. Then we see ISC sprint reports, and they look like beautiful and plants and all this stuff. So, like, in your like more understanding of what is there, what's changed, if anything?
They changed everything.
Yeah.
Pyro is no longer a system that's been mined to oblivion. But it's and they've also changed the star. So the star is no longer, because originally the star was this highly unstable star that was spewing out radiation, which made it difficult to live in the system. Yeah. And that has kind of been changed, and they've changed in lore of it from being what it was to being a more stable yellow giant, which means that it's more like our sun. They still haven't changed the lore as to why Pyrotechnica, which is the company that actually discovered and bought Pyro, the rights to like mine Pyro, why they abandoned it, but they eventually abandoned it. The Ruined Station is still a thing. It's an old Gold Horizon station. It's those old circle stations from the early days of Star Citizen.
Are we going to get that station, you think?
Yeah, it's the landing zone. It's the only landing zone we have.
That style of station I think was my favorite, and I really hope they stick to that look. I don't know what you think about that, because visually I loved that style. Yeah.
We already kind of have that style, but it's on. You can see some of the circle stations that exist in Stanton, which work as similar styles. But I like that, like inverted with a little like knob sticking out kind of station. It looks interesting.
Yeah,
and it's almost kind of the symbol of Star Citizen in my mind in terms of the stations.
Yeah. It goes back to the
I also
only concept art days, right? You know.
Yeah. And the thing is I think that if CIG is building Ruin Station, because CIG is this is going to be a strange statement that a lot of people don't realize, but CIG is very efficient in what they do. So the reason why they'd be building Ruin Station as a Gold Horizon station is so that they can have a Gold Horizon station. Then they can just copy pasta all over the universe with that Gold Horizon station, because it was supposed to be these abandoned stations that players are supposed to be able to take over if they wanted to. So
that will be sweet one day.
So yeah. And the things, it's definitely more mineable now, and there are definitely some partially livable places, but it's still an abandoned way station. It's like those towns that you pass by when you're driving through, where it's like there's a gas station and there's a couple of like trailers, and the gas station doubles as like a convenience store, like a general store and a restaurant.
Yeah.
And people live there because there's people who work there, but you can't imagine people living there, like why you'd want to live there. It's like people are just kind of stuck there. That's kind of Pyro. It's this place where people are just sort of stuck as criminals or outlaws, in the sense that they don't want to live inside the UEE anymore. And this is one of the few places they can go because they don't have enough money.
Gotcha.
So
makes sense. I guess that we will shift away from lore a little bit, because you do more than just lore. You do more than just lore. I do more than just lore.
Yes.
So I know that you're like, this is one thing that you and I do like to enjoy, but you have succeeded at doing it more often than I have, is like 0 to hero runs, starting with an Aurora or a starter ship and just playing the game sort of the way the game was intended to be played, right? And tell me more about that and how you do it. I tend to do it a little bit differently than you. I try to punish myself more, and then I end up punishing myself so much that I don't end up enjoying it, so I quit.
So what I tend to do is I start out with a theme. So the first time I did it, I just was kind of playing it, and then I realized, you know what, I'll just try smuggling, because smuggling is fun. And I've been doing that on my main account anyways. And that way I earned a lot of money through doing that. And eventually I think I had something like 1.5 million on that account. So I have like a Cutlass and an Avenger that I bought with in-game cash. And I earned it all from just having an Aurora.
Yep.
And the whole goal is to not take money. So not just accept money from anybody who's like, hey, here's money. Like, no, I want to play the game normally and just show the people that you can do this normally. And a lot of it is enjoying the experience of the game, but not just grinding. Trying to also, when someone else hops on, it's like, hey, hop in my Hammerhead and let's go do some bounty hunting. It's like, yeah, cool, why not? That kind of experience that your typical new player will have when they pop into the universe.
Gotcha.
To kind of prove that you can just enjoy the game with a starter ship, and you really can.
Yeah, I enjoy the game more with the starter ship than I do with my main account, by like exorbitant amounts.
It gives you purpose.
Yeah, it really does.
It just makes the game more fun. It makes the game much more playable.
Do you remember when you couldn't buy anything from shops this patch? That was the day. The day that bug came in was the day I started my 0 to hero, and I was just like, well, I quit.
Yep. Yeah.
So I should really start it again. Have you succeeded? Excuse me. Have you succeeded in posting it on YouTube yet? I still I'm still struggling to find a way.
There's other than just posting the streams. Like there's no there's really nothing for me to do it. I'm waiting for the next big wipe, but like so that way when the next wipe comes in terms of beta, I can start recording snippets or pulling clips off of it and putting that up there.
Yeah, that's what I've tried, but it's tough because you have to go through so much video. Like the amount of time it took me to make I think I made a video about the Vandal mask. That was like 40 hours, or not 40 hours. I don't know, maybe 40 hours. It was a lot of hours.
I believe it.
Yeah, that like you're scrubbing through and you're like, oh, I just got to kill. Okay, let's find that and cut that down. Okay, and then trying to scrub through 1080p 60 FPS video is not easy in Premiere sometimes, and on at least my computers. So yeah, but
But yeah, I haven't been able to do that. But it's fun. I suggest people try it out. And the other thing that's interesting that I think people like you and me doing this with CIG watching us, because CIG does watch a lot of content creators, is I at least hope it's helping the CIG kind of go, that's bad. I need to fix that. This is bad for the new player experience. We need to sit down and work on this new player experience.
Cultivate that.
Right? Or expand this. Yeah, that's a really interesting idea. Let's expand this more.
Do you know what I think that happened with your Zero to Hero and mine? The smuggling one was when it was really good. It was like 90K a run, right? To go to Hurston and then Crusader or somewhere, right? With the unlawful delivery missions. And then they like started working on delivery missions and quote unquote making them better, but then sort of made them horrible all at the same time. And then they never changed them to the ground. Yeah, and then they never changed them back. And the guy who changed it, I always give him crap now. But when you see Xenothreat, I'm like, oh, if we can just let's tie this in. Like, can we just take a little bit of time for 313 and please put these 3 things in and make a couple, now we have Reputation. Can we tie Reputation into this? Can we do this? Because I thought delivery missions and Star Citizen, there's no excitement to it really, right? But at the same time, sometimes games are really fun because they're relaxing. And that's like the aspect of Star Citizen that I find like super relaxing and super fun, is just bouncing from one place to another, picking up a couple boxes and just hanging out, right? And like that's like the one aspect of Star Citizen you can I don't know, watch a movie while you're doing it, or it's just nice. So
put on some cool tunes in the background and just chill, and enjoy every so often you land, you look over and you're like, oh look, A New Hope. I can feel the John Williams theme swelling as I'm watching the sunset. It looks beautiful. Let's move on.
That's also one of the things that like the outposts, and which is super exciting about like future Homestead things that they've been showing, is you kind of get really immersed in the game when you're doing stuff like that, right? At least I do. Yeah. I guess tell me more about smuggling since you're so into it. Is there anything outside of what is in game currently that maybe you've learned from some of? I know there's some lore smuggling posts.
Yeah.
So
I mean, there's smuggling. All smuggling is illegal cargo transfer.
Okay.
And there's some lore stuff that in the early smuggling days, the days when you could make 90K, they slipped the lore in and people didn't realize. For instance, there was Hadesian. There was the skins that you sold. It was like this fur or skins that you would have. Those are actually skins of a sentient creature that lives on a planet that's protected by the Fair Chance Act.
Okay.
So it's like
Osoian hide, right? It's like
Osoian hides, yeah. Osoians are sentient creatures. So it's kind of like selling the hides of or selling like rhino horns. Or elephant ivory.
Gotcha.
You're kind of doing illegal stuff, which really shouldn't be sold, but money.
Hey.
So and there's a lot of that. And then the knockoff, the funny part was like the knockoff, like the Mobby Glass and the Odyssey suits, which are these just knockoff RS1 Odyssey suits, these knockoff brands and such.
Sure.
But with smuggling itself, what I've discovered is that every time I go smuggling and I try to find new routes, everyone always tells me that trading is broken. And I'm always like, it's because you're not going to the right places. Because everyone's going to the one place that you found in that one tutorial, and everyone wants to do it because it's the way you make money, because you're a cargo hauler. But with smuggling, for instance, every patch they change the drug of choice. That makes a lot of money. And this patch they made slam good again.
Because you can actually sell it, right? There was a time where you couldn't sell it at all.
There's no places that you could buy it. You could sell it too. Yeah. So now you can actually sell it. And not only can you sell it, you can sell it at incredibly high profit margins. But you can only buy them at one place at high numbers and sell them at one place at high numbers. And I'll let all your viewers and your YouTube viewers know this, because I'm actually going to make a video on this as well for teaching this route. But private property on selling, you can buy up to 20 units of slam, and you can sell between 10 and 20 units every so often on Reclamation and Disposal Orinth.
Okay.
Reclamation and Disposal Orinth is like the #1 place to sell drugs. You can sell.
That's the one on Hurston,
except for Widow. Yeah, the one on Hurston. That's like right by the by Lorville. It's like just outside of Lorville.
Gotcha.
So and that's the other thing that's been fun about smuggling, is that smuggling is one of those few things that really doesn't require. You don't need a caterpillar to go smuggling.
No.
Like at most you need a cutlass or a freelancer, because you're only moving about 10 to 20 units per run. So it makes it incredibly available for your starting player to make a lot of money very quickly. Now you're not making 1 million credits in a run. Like, people are like, I've got a caterpillar. It's like, yeah, but I didn't have to spend $350. I just have an Aurora and I rented a cutlass, and now I've made half of your profits with $45, dude. you know? So the Nomad is probably the chief king smuggler now, because it's got the perfect amount of units you need. So
gotcha. I wonder if they thought of that specifically when going for the cargo. Maybe. But I hate the Nomad. I'm sorry. The Nomad represents everything I hate about Star Citizen. Like the calling it a starter ship. First off. Then on the website, it literally says, destroy the Aurora with this Nomad, basically. Like, you can buy $45, but this ship will destroy the $45 ship. So you really want this ship. It's just straight up like the website game rather than the actual video game. So I'm just like,
actual video game, yeah.
Like, the Nomad looks cool, is cool, all that stuff. But just that is everything I hate about SC, is like the marketing part of it, and not like the game part of it, which is like a bummer.
Yeah, it's I hate that aspect. It was one of those things where when it came out, I'm like, it's all right, but why'd you want to buy it if you're gonna already? Because the other problem is its price is like it's $70-$80, right?
$80
with a package. It's $80 for it with a package US, and it's like, then just spend $110. You're not that far away from just getting a cutlass.
Because cutlass is better.
It's better.
Yeah.
If you're talking about destroying the starter ship, cutlass. You get a cutlass, you can pretty much destroy anything, including ships that are more expensive than it, and it can do everything you want it to do. So just get a cutlass.
Yeah. Once you have a cutlass, you really don't need anything else. Yeah.
No, I mean not at this point. Like there's some other things you could do, but in the future even. Just park your cutlass inside another ship that you want to use, or that you want to help out a friend, because they've got cargo bays or they've got hangar bays for you. So
yeah, I feel like they just went, how do we make if a cutlass and an Avenger had a baby, what would it look like? And that's literally what it is. Like that was their design guide. All right. So the last topic before we go to a couple callers, I think we have two on the line. Yeah. I want to talk to you about life. I kind of cued you into this before the show.
Yeah.
That you are the only person that I find has a similar life situation to me. You have a full-time job. My job is kind of part-time, but since it's so far away, the amount of time I spend going to and from ends up being a full-time job. And you have a wife, and you stream a lot and make a lot of YouTube videos. No one else in the Star Citizen community I know has that same situation. How do you cope with sleep, mental health, spending time with your wife, and how does she cope with not spending as much time with you as she might want to, right?
The key, I think, is the dirty word that a lot of content creators don't like to see and like to hear, which is take breaks.
Yeah.
Especially like this time of the year, Xeno threat just ended. Great time to take a break for a couple of weeks until more content comes out. Or maybe after, like, sometime in March, early March, before CIG kind of ramps up for the PTU of 313.
Sure.
Just take a break. It sounds bad, and it does hurt your YouTube numbers a little bit more, and it does cause you to slow down in growth, but you can't be on all time, high octane, doing jobs and doing those other things. I think that the best way of coping that I have found as well is scheduling. Like, I'm going to have this time for my content, this time for the wife, this time for, chores. Like, just set out blocks of time.
If you don't finish,
helps.
do you stop?
Yeah.
Because I don't. Yeah, that's my biggest problem. If I don't
finish,
finish,
I have to force myself to.
Yeah. If I don't finish, I keep going until I do. Like, sometimes I'll just be up for 20 hours trying to get a video done or something like that. But yeah. I don't, because that's the thing I was going to ask you. When you say take a break, it's like you've definitely had moments, and so have I, where like you have a lot of momentum on YouTube, and you're like, I gotta keep this going. I would assume, right?
Yeah, it's so hard not to. Between November and December, I was just living on my computer, and it hasn't helped because my job is also now being remote. So, it's a lot of me sitting at my computer for hours on end, and then, like, after I've done sitting at the computer for hours on end for work, I have to sit on my computer for hours on end for content creation. So I'm just living in this room for most of my life, and it can be hard to, like, judge time and such like that. So,
let me know if this is inappropriate to ask, but I'm gonna ask it. Does your wife support you in this? Okay.
No worries. Sorry, my audio went out.
No problem. Yeah. Does your wife support you in this endeavor, and how so? And like, that's something that, for me, when Emmy came into my life, we sat down, and I remember, like, the moment vividly too. Was we sat down, and she was like, you keep talking about how you want to do this stuff, but you don't put in the effort as much as you probably should to be successful at it. And I'm like, well, in order to do that, I would have to spend less time with you. So it's like, it has to go both ways, right? And she, like, fully supports me when I need to do this. She helps motivate me and all that stuff. Like, how is that situation for you? Obviously, I would assume there's ups and downs with it, as well as, like, I have, as
Yeah. My wife supports me in my endeavors for this kind of stuff. Yeah. She does her own, like, that's the one thing about my relationship that's been consistent since even before I started doing content creation, was both of us were very adamant that we have our own lives that we want to live that may not involve us, and we support those endeavors as much as we can, and just kind of move on. I will say it's strained at times because, again, as you know, sometimes you can just get into the zone and you're just like, I just need to finish this edit. I gotta go live today. I got to, because this event's coming out, or this game just came out. I gotta play it. I just gotta do this. And it's like, but you're your significant other wants to hang out. They haven't seen you in days, and they want to be there. They become stream wives, and so it struggles sometimes. But like, as long as you fully understand I think as long as I'm fully open with her about it, and she's fully open with me about it, it's usually okay.
Yeah, I feel like Corona's made it even
It's not
worse.
something I would let. What's that?
I just feel like Corona's made it even worse because like what we would do sometimes is we would be like, all right, work really hard on stuff, but then when you're done, like, let's take a day trip somewhere or let's do something, right? Mm-hmm. Like, I live in Florida. Yeah. I can do whatever I want. Like, Corona, there are no restrictions here, nothing. This is the most free place on planet Earth. I think you live in the second most free place on planet Earth in regards
Texas.
to this. Yeah. So, like, we can do what we want to do, but I don't feel comfortable, like, going to a hotel or something like that. And yeah,
or
like,
going out to a restaurant,
Yeah, like, we actually do that occasionally. They're really good about stuff here. Like, we're super far away from other people, and, like, I've never had an uncomfortable experience. We don't go to restaurants often, like, very seldomly, maybe 2 or 3 times in the last, like, I don't know, 6 months. But yeah, when we have, it's like there is nobody within, not arm's length, but like even talking length. So it hasn't been too much of an issue for us. But I mean, my job is insane. I am shoulder to shoulder with 10 people every day.
Yeah.
Over, like, it's nuts. So it's yeah, I don't know what to do. But in general, like, getting back to the topic, it's really hard for me, and I was just kind of curious how it is for you to stay motivated, stay on things, to find the time and to stop, right? Like, you're just, I guess you have more control over the stopping part than I do right now, and it's probably way healthier. And I see that you've been able to stay more consistent, I feel, than I have because of that, probably. Do you have a set schedule when you post videos?
I used to, and then I screwed that schedule up. but
it's probably healthy not to, because when you get it done, that's when it comes out. Instead of, I have to get this done today, otherwise people are waiting for it, and now they don't have it.
Yeah, that's kind of how it works. I used to release a Galactic Historian video on Wednesday, and then I would release the Captain's Table videos. I broke it up into 2. So that's because Captain's Table, the podcast, is much longer than Answer the Call. We go 4 hours sometimes.
Yeah.
I broke it up into the section of the discussion, then the sections of just like the questions and answers.
I like that. People have suggested that here too, but I don't know. It's we're much shorter.
Yeah, and there's a lot of people who don't like it. But for what I've done is, by separating into 2 videos, it allows for more people to enjoy it, because I found that more people are watching both sections.
Yep.
But it's also allowed me to release 2 videos, and the algorithm is like, I enjoy it. You know, the algorithm is just this is very interesting. I enjoy this, and as we know, we're all slaves to the algorithm on YouTube. So as long as the algorithm is enjoying it, I have to keep it up.
Yeah, like, I basically post this on Sunday, weekend review on Monday, and then if I can, I try to post another video, and I haven't for a number of reasons. Like, I'd much rather play Eco now than play Star Citizen. Yeah, and like, there's just other factors. Like, I don't feel I don't know. I don't feel like the kind of content I want to make is possible yet, and I'd rather not make something that I don't like,
subpar,
than something that I do. So that's kind of where I've been. I missed the mark so much on, like, Xenothreat. Like, the obvious video was like, this is how to do Xenothreat or whatever, and the steps of it, and I just didn't. And
well, now you know what to do. Now that you know what to do when the Ninetales stuff comes out.
Exactly, yeah. Like, be ready for that and just do it, So Yeah. I heard they're posting that Xenothreat is officially over.
Xenothreat is over.
Yeah, that was short.
I was gonna do this the phase 3 today for stream, but I guess I'm just gonna. This has been my week off, so like I didn't stream on Thursday or Friday. I streamed yesterday because I've got long running commitments for those days. But I'm probably not gonna stream today because I was like, oh, if phase 3 comes out, I'll just hang out and do that. But now it's like, whatever.
Yeah.
So
I don't think you missed anything.
From what I heard, I played it in PTU. I streamed it in PTU when the phase 3, you could do all the phases at once.
Yeah.
And it was fun, but I can see why people are like, yeah, people know how to ace it now because they've learned the secrets of it. And I think that's probably the biggest struggle that CIG will have is how do you build a game that players just won't figure out all of the ins and outs of in like seconds?
So. Well, and the worst part about it is they put it on the PTU before it goes live. So you figure those out, and then literally, not day one, but second one, it's done. Because you know where everything is, how to do everything, all the steps, and so on. But yeah, so mission complete. Threat thwarted. So it was 2 weeks, right? It's a pretty good event. In your experience, I can't remember because my only real MMO experience is Ultima Online. How long were WoW events typically? I don't expect Star Citizen to make WoW level events. Like, let's be clear, but
no,
not yet.
WoW level events were also one and dones. Like once you did them, you could like redo them, like raids and stuff like that.
Sure.
But I think I remember they were like a month maybe or a patch cycle. But it was they were very like, this thing is going on, go do this mission, this quest chain, and you're done. Like, but they were available for a lot longer.
Somebody in chat, this is gibberish to me, said AQ40 gates were until resources were gathered. Whatever that means. Nax was about a month in bursts. Okay. I know Nax is like Nax Ramus or something, but yeah, I don't know anything about WoW. I never played it. But I'm just like kind of curious, like what will the next event be like? How long will it be? Things like that is something that I'm sort of curious about. I don't know. Is there anything that we haven't discussed yet today that's like on your mind and you would want to talk about? Is there anything that comes to mind that just like, hey, what do you think about this, Mike?
Subscribe to SaltEMike and like the video and comment down below about what your thoughts on the universe are. How are you, Mike? How are you handling this, the corona and everything's like that in content?
I'm disappointed in myself. I would say, like, just similar to what we discussed earlier, is I think I had a lot of momentum and I just couldn't keep it going. I think part of it is that's just a general Star Citizen thing. Is sometimes Star Citizen gets momentum and then it dies down because it's not a complete game yet. And I ride the waves with Star Citizen, and like you said earlier in the show, it's February, right? And we're in that stage where we're at the bottom part of it, and I feel I ride those waves. You know, I think most people know that I wear my heart on my sleeve, and I'm feeling pretty meh at the moment because Star Citizen isn't the best experience in the world, but I'm gonna start doing some PvP and do a little bit more of that and just try and find another section of the game that I have not partook in very often. Since at least the Vandal Mask event, I was like, I tasted blood. That was the best thing ever, but I never felt a purpose for it. Like, I feel like the one knock I have on, I should say had until today, on quote-unquote griefers / PvPers, right? Where they're just killing players because they want to. And I just had a pre-planned fight with a player twice today, and it was fun. And I get why players are just mindlessly killing other people with no purpose, because that when you have that fun, you just want to do that, and there's no real way of getting it consistently. The last time we had consistent fun, and this is probably like the best videos that you've ever made, was the Jumptown stuff. Like that Jumptown series you made on your YouTube channel. I'm linking that down below. If you guys haven't seen that, that shit was amazing. And that was an amazing experience in game, right? So I get why those players do that. Yeah.
Yeah. I was that is probably my magnum opus when it comes to the content. It's a 45-minute documentary, y'all, is what it is. Yeah. And it's done in the style of a Ken Burns documentary. If you've watched Ken Burns, he's an American documentary filmmaker who makes documentaries about the American experience, about American history. But yes, I really enjoyed that. And
would you ever do something like that again?
100%. 100% I do something like that again. I'm a historian is my day job. You know, a lot of people, I don't think I mentioned that, you know, I'm a teacher is my day job, and a history teacher. And so I went to school for history. I like history, and that translates well to lore very easily. And one of the things that was unique about the Jumptown event was it was something that made it into lore, but it was also something that players experienced.
Yeah. So we kind of made it lore.
Yeah, we forced it into lore because it was so many people played it.
Yeah.
And it was one of those things that was like, this is history in the game. This is the game's history. If people who played Eve remember that there was the oh gosh, I can't remember the name of the name of the war. But there's literally lore, not lore, but like player lore wars that have happened in Eve, that they have like it's like the Boar's Head War or something like that, where they fought over a specific nebula. And because Jumptown is over with and it's gone, and because we have so many new players who are coming into the game, I don't want that Jumptown experience to disappear. And so the historian in me is, I have to make a record. I have to show people that this thing existed. This was once a thing. I was part of it. You were part of it. Other people were part of it. It was one of the best times in Star Citizen, hands down, if you enjoyed trading or just playing the game, because it was such a unique event.
Yeah. All right, before we go to callers.
Yeah.
Being an historian, if you can choose any time in the past to go back to and live, when would it be and why? Where and when?
Now, because history sucks. If I had to choose, I would probably choose either. Well, okay. That's this. I'm going to cop out a little bit and say there's three options. Number one would be the beginning of the Roman Empire around Augustine in Rome, because they had incredibly high standards of living, and it was generally pretty good. And I don't have blonde hair and blue eyes, so I wouldn't be a slave. So that's a good one. The second would be the height of the Han Empire, or the Qin. Maybe the Qin. No, Han. The Han Empire in China. Similar reasons. Very high standard of living, running water, hot baths, homes that people lived in, or the third option would be the height of the Umayyad dynasty in the Middle East. It's one of the Islamic empires that existed. So in probably in Baghdad, because like it was where like a lot of people know about the Library of Alexandria and cry over the destruction of the Library of Alexandria. Not a lot of people remember that there's actually a second library that held most of what was already in the Library of Alexandria that was built by the Muslim empires, called the Library of Baghdad, which was destroyed by the Mongols later on. So, second great loss of knowledge.
Yeah.
But it was running water, high standards of living. I'm lazy. Here. I am very lazy. I don't like roughing it. I can, but I don't want to. And I think most historians will tell you that like history sucks. Life sucked before now. It still sucks now, but it sucked even worse, in the past. I'm trying to find places that were like mostly tolerant of you. Generally, you didn't get killed for saying the wrong things, and or you can open up a tap and water would come out and it wouldn't try to kill you.
Like I have like a very I don't know, stupid idea of what it would be like, but for me, I always choose like pioneer time in the United States. Just moving west, kind of claiming your own land, but ignoring the fact that you're taking someone else's land. They may not like it, attack you and kill you. No medicine, no cold, all sorts of things trying to kill you.
Yeah. The closest doctor is literally 2 days away.
Yeah.
You're working day in and day out. You wake up at 6 a.m. to go plow the fields, and you go to bed at 7 p.m. because you don't have enough lantern light to be able to stay up later.
Yep.
Your best recreation is either your wife or a book.
Yeah.
That's pretty much the only thing you have to do.
But oddly enough, like my dream scenario today would be to have a bit of land, do as much of my own like making of food as possible, and not being able to see my neighbors. I think the only desire to live that way comes straight up from the fact that I do not want to talk to people or see other people. That's it. That is my desire to live in that time, is to wake up, look outside, and go, the smell of nobody,
Yeah. So here's the thing, Mike. Here's what your goal should be. Your goal should be become a full-time content creator, move to the middle of nowhere.
There's no internet. That's the biggest problem.
You can
Starlink,
baby.
Yeah.
Starlink.
There
we go. That's what I was gonna say.
Yeah.
Get Starlink. Live in the middle of nowhere. That's about 30 minutes away from like a local Walmart, so you can still buy some stuff and still get delivered to.
Exactly.
But your closest neighbor is
30 minutes away.
30 minutes away by car, 2 hours away by walking.
Yep.
Perfect.
That's the dream for me.
So,
like enough internet to stream, enough internet for Netflix, and I'm good. That's it.
Yeah.
But
that's all I need.
As always, I'm a horrible host, and I always forget to tell people that if there's anything that you guys want to discuss with Paul, TheAstroPub, or myself about what we talked about, there is a caller line up, and there's one slot open. So if you guys want to come in, !Discord and chat, find the Answer the Call podcast section, and then pop into the green room, and then BB is there to make sure your mic is decent enough and all that stuff to come in and chat. So with that said, we're going to bring in our first caller, who actually I left up there the whole time. So Doc is going to be our first caller, who is fairly regular, so that's perfect. Hey, Doc, what's up, man? And then I'll switch this and fix Paul's camera. There we go. How's it going?
I'm cool. I'm good.
So you're on the line with Doc, or you're on the line with AstroPub. What do you what do you want to chat about?
The sort of stories of the game. Well, not stories of the game, but the stories of the stuff that happens like in the game.
Okay.
Armor. Like Stanton as a system is a strange system because it's like not like Empire. Well, it's sort of Empire run, but it's not like Empire like interfered with.
Yep.
And I think Xenothreat have a point almost.
Are you a Xeno?
I'm not a Xeno, but I do have a point almost that it's been sort of like a straying away from humans almost in some areas. And I think if we had more like areas like Stanton, like it would be more like interesting.
Are there more places like Stanton in the game?
No,
Astro?
no.
This is like a very unique situation, huh?
Stanton is the only system that's entirely owned by not the Empire.
Mm-hmm.
So it's a very it's a corporation-owned system essentially.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. So, like Astro said earlier, local governments can do their thing, but there's no situation where it's corporate owned other than this one. Gotcha.
Yeah.
Okay.
There's no other ones. Now I will say for Doc, there are a couple of places that are interesting that you might want to visit in lore, because there are a couple of places like Pyro obviously is one, but Nyx is kind of like a hippie commune outside of the control of the UEE. They hate the UEE. There's like a long history of the UEE kind of just be horrible to everybody. So lots of the systems which are not controlled by the UEE are places where people pile into who don't like the UEE. So Pyro is Pyro is like the Mad Max reality of Star Citizen, where everyone's trying to kill each other. But Nyx is like, they actively kick out people who are too violent, because they're like, if you cause too much attention to us, we're going to get attacked by the UEE. Go away. And they actively are like, we want to overthrow the UEE. We want to overthrow the government and install a communist utopia. That's essentially what the Nyx, the people of Nyx want.
Oh, really? They're communist? I just
they're
knew
communists.
I knew that they were the Messer, like the downfall of Messer started there, right?
Yeah,
they organized in that system.
Yeah, they helped organize that. Yeah.
So like Mike's eco server, someone said in chat. I am a dictator. Sorry.
But then you have things like Magnus, which is connected to the Stanton system as well, which is like Space Detroit. It's technically part of the Empire, but is in reality a haven for criminals, because the Empire just let it die. It used to be the place where they built all of the Aegis and military ships. It was like a military shipyard. It was where the headquarters of the UE military during the Messer era, and then they moved that to Killian, and it just fell apart. Like all of the industry fell, and no one really could get jobs. So criminals came in. We're like, hey, we'll buy your military grade equipment.
Sure.
So they're kind of like a system with a chip on their shoulder, because they're like, you abandoned us. We're technically still paying taxes to you, but we don't like you. So Drake is, for instance, headquartered in Magnus. So like that gives you an idea of the kind of attitude they have.
Yeah.
It's Drake Town.
Is Killian near like GN systems, or is it a GN system, or is it a UE?
No, it's a UE system, but I think it is near Xi'an space, which would make sense because Magnus is a little too far away from Xi'an space. It's kind of in the middle between Earth and Terra, and Killian's a little bit closer. So
because I know that Star Citizen lore tends to be inspired by real life, so I was curious if the development of vehicles like in Detroit gets moved to China or something like that, and if it was supposed to kind of play into that, because I know that the Xi'an are like the UEE is supposed to be similar to what the Roman Empire, and then the Xi'an are similar to the Far East, and then there's others,
Persia or China.
Yeah, something like that. So I wondered if Killian was one of those systems.
It's sort of. It's more like how after like World War II, the U.S. shut down a bunch of its bases all over America because it was too expensive to run, and they were just moved things around. It's kind of like closing a couple of Air Force bases in Georgia so that they can open up other Air Force bases in Colorado, because it's much less it's so far away from the coast that they're much less likely to get hit. So they can fly further away. Magnus was just an early system they had. It had access to resources and it was a great place to set up based off of what they had. And then they started expanding and finding new systems. And they said, let's move to Killian because Killian is a better location.
Situation.
Yeah, but like Detroit, where they're like, let's move everything to China because it's cheaper to sell there. They just ignore the people who actually live there, and now they're all broke, or homeless, or trying to struggle to find new jobs and such. So
sure, Doc, how much do you follow the lore?
A bit, like a bit. Like I've seen all the stuff in the collective Wikipedia and on the SE tools.
Yeah, I would say. Go ahead. Sorry.
There's actually something about Stanton that I saw as well, like how Stanton sort of evolved into like the system that is because of something Nth World. Yeah, that was quite interesting.
Yes, Stanton was actually sold to corporations because they needed to find a way of paying for Synth World, which was overly expensive. So what they did was they sold the planets for billions and billions of credits to these corporations, and then that money went to go to keep funding Synth World because it's a giant money sink that they're trying to build the planet from scratch.
It's the Empire's attempt to make like their own stuff, like their own planet almost.
Okay.
It's their attempt to make their own stuff, basically, but it's not heading the right way currently.
Go ahead.
It's a giant synthetic planet. So it's not like a Dyson sphere. It's not like an O'Neill cylinder. It's none of the or like a ring. It's not any of the classic science fiction / science fact attempts at making kind of a living world. It's more like what is it? What is the name of the planet from Transformers? The home world from Transformers, where it's kind of like it's a planet, like an actual round planet, but it's completely made out of metal. Cybertron. Thank you. Yeah, Cybertron. It's like Cybertron, where it's like completely made out of metal, and then they'll put dirt and rocks and trees on top of that, and then they'll build like an ecosystem around that. But you don't just have the planet, you also will have layers upon layers of like inner workings. So you can, not only is it just a planet, but it's a planet that has planet outside, a planet inside the crust, and then inside that crust, inside of that crust. So it's like 15 planets in one. So the idea is that it can do the same thing, and they can make it however they want to, as like the perfect planet, which in Star Citizen is like Terra. But you can have like 15 Terras in one planet. So it allows for, they don't have to go find new planets to expand population. They also don't need to terraform planets that possibly have sentient life, or like the moral quandary of killing something that could be sentient. Because, when you terraform something, it kills everything on the planet, including like microbes. So if you kill the microbes, there's that planet could, in thousands, millions of years, eventually support sentient life. We don't know. So the ethical concerns of terraforming a planet that already has creatures on it becomes problematic. So the idea was, if we build our own planet, we don't have to worry about that because we're building our own planet.
What does the new Imperator think?
She wants to open up all of the research that's covered in Synth World to everybody.
Okay.
Which has been highly top secret stuff, like super duper top secret stuff that's not being shared with the public. And you can imagine the kind of tech that goes into building a planet, like planet-sized gravity generators, and so.
Interesting. Yeah, I didn't know about that. This is like, there's so many things about this. Like, if you don't follow it, you miss so much. And
it's in depth and rich, and it's quite enjoyable to read.
Sure.
Because it's an actual story to read almost.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
All right, Doc. Is there anything else you want to talk about?
No, not really.
You brought us down a cool rabbit hole. I'll tell you that much.
Yeah,
I didn't know about Synth World.
I will say, Doc, you seem to be the very quintessential centrist when it comes, or centralist when it comes to the political parties. You don't trust the Xenos, don't trust other alien races, and humanity is strained so far away from being human. And Stanton works. Why don't we just have more Stantons?
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, it's easy. It works. It's yeah. It's just it just works.
Yeah.
Stanton.
We need more Hurstons.
Oh, well, I won't say we need more Hurstons, but yeah.
If you could choose a company, Doc, in Stanton to work for, which would it be? Because it seems like we can make reputation with these things now, right? Who will you start building reputation with?
It would either have to be Hycrotech, because they're all awesome, or it would have to be who? It's the
Crusader.
MSR.
Yeah, Crusader.
The MSR, whoever makes the MSR. Yeah, cool.
So Doc is
Crusader.
a pinky up fancy man. I see. Yeah, he drinks with his pinky up.
Yep.
I got it. I think I would be an ArcCorp guy. I think ArcCorp's pretty sweet. I just like the idea of like the full planet city, and it seems like New York City to me, you know, and that's I kind of grew up in that area, being from New Jersey. We're really close to New York, so we go there kind of often, and I love I think New York's just a place, if you've never been there, especially because we do have like a sort of large European audience, you got to go to New York City one time in your life.
Once.
Yeah.
It is nothing like you've experienced.
Yeah.
It's nothing like you've experienced before. It's the closest thing I could say based off of, I've never been there, but like it's kind of like going to Paris or London, in the sense that if you've only ever been to like Cardiff or Marseille, it's like going to Berlin when the biggest city you've been to before that is Frankfurt. Yeah. It's a very different experience in terms of, and it's different from the United States. Like New York is so unique.
Yeah, there's no city like New York in the U.S.
Yeah,
nothing. So, or in the world probably, except for maybe in in like
maybe like Beijing.
Beijing, I was gonna say.
Yeah.
Or Seoul, maybe, I don't know.
Yeah.
Like big buildings.
Maybe Tokyo. Yeah.
Tokyo. Yeah. All places I've never been either. So for me, New York is like that experience to go to. But all right, Doc, I guess we'll let you go.
Yeah.
Thanks for calling, man. Be good. We'll see you next time.
Yeah.
Later, buddy. But Astro, before we go to the next caller, who would you work for? Who are you going to build a rep with first, if you could?
Honestly, either Crusader or Hurston. Because Crusader is...
Interesting.
Yeah, well, here's the thing. Here's my argument. Crusader, because it's a utopia.
Okay.
They're a bunch of not anymore, but it was originally a super duper kind of like, I wouldn't say evangelical, but bordering on evangelical Christian group.
Okay.
The original name was Seraphim Systems, and the owner was super religious, and the person who helped change that was kind of, it said compromise and said, let's call it Crusader, because that's where it comes in, the naming convention comes in. So they're very like idealistic. They believe in like love thy neighbor and turn the other cheek, and so like as a result, Crusader like treats its employees very well, and it's a very good place. The other reason why I'd want to work for Hurston is because Hurston pays a lot of money, because they got money and they don't got a lot of scruples. And being a smuggler, I kind of feel with that. I kind of deal with that.
I got you. All right, let's bring on our next and final caller of the day, Uri the Smoke. So, hello, Uri. How you doing?
Hey, how you guys doing?
Good.
How's my audio?
It sounds good.
First, before I get into anything, I want to I've always wanted to thank Doc for coming on and doing what he does.
Doc's the man.
Like, I'm a real advocate for him. And also, if he would like to like add in when he's done, saying everything he has to say, to end it with "I've spoken." That would be pretty awesome.
I'll tell you this little secret about Doc that I don't think you guys know. Doc is a cold-blooded killer. Anytime we've done any event, like we were doing the box event, somebody might have accidentally turned red, and he just goes, "I took care of him." That's it. He goes, "I took care of it." That's all he said. He was an absolute savage. I believe it. Yeah, absolutely.
He's so
savage.
to the point.
Yep.
I believe it.
Yep.
Like,
Red equals
I don't
dead.
want to see him in the verse.
No, he's a killer, dude. So what? You're on with the AstroPub. What do you want to chat about?
All right. It's been a long time coming. I'm a big fan for Astro.
All right.
Thank you.
Yeah, I'm the guy who's always asking you questions about smuggling in your Discord. So, Xeno, I haven't quite enjoyed it as much as a lot of people have played it with. In the beginning of it, I didn't play it on PTU, only played it on PU. And I started off with just PvPing it. Not because I didn't want to do the whole PvE aspect of it.
Yeah.
I just don't enjoy fighting the AI in the game. It's pretty boring. And hearing what I've heard about how it is in the PTU, I knew what to expect with the AI. And the woman that talks to you for the Xeno, I don't know nothing about her. I was expecting for Xeno to come through, the Addison lady to be like, "Hey, come help Stanton do this." Her first initiative being in charge, her doing everything. And I was confused when this other lady shows up. Who are you?
The idea of the CDF is kind of weird to me. What do you guys think about that? The whole civilian defense force, and then you're getting paid millions of credits. Like, I don't know. The whole thing was weird. I like the video stuff. Though.
So Ruina Dooley, who's the SAIC, she's the special agent in charge. She's an advocacy agent. The real reason why she is the voice behind everything is because Xenothreat was being made about a year ago, and they didn't know that Addison was going to be in there. But the way that the CDF works is there's always a advocacy agent in charge, and the advocacy agents are kind of like FBI agents if you cross them with Spectres from Mass Effect. Basically super agents with ultimate power to do what they want. Very little restrictions on what they can do. And she's a special agent in charge, and her main job in Stanton is basically to ensure that Stanton is safe. So her job is the protection of Stanton from the advocacy point of view. So when she shows up and talking, I don't think this is the last time we're going to see Ruina Dooley in the game. I think she's going to end up being a mission giver for a lot of people.
Yeah, I mean, that's got to be an important role, right?
Okay, that'd be cool. I just wish there was more of an introduction to her, like, before this event.
I think that's just generally what Xenothreat is. It feels very tacked on. And they, like, for instance, the People of Stanton message mentions the Huxa agreement, which is something that's only been touched on in lore, like in the background. Like, this is the first time they've ever mentioned it in game.
Yeah.
So I like it in that kind of cases. But, like, for instance, if you go to the Assault on Stanton page, it has a bio of Ruina Dooley.
They had to do that because you don't get an introduction in game.
Exactly. Yeah. She's born and raised in Orison and Crusader. So she's a Crusader brat, and then she went off and joined the Navy. Ended up raising out of the Navy. When she got out of the Navy, she rose through the ranks in the advocacy and is now a special agent. So, and she's in charge of the CDF. Like, that's her job. right now.
Okay.
So yeah, the answer is just the reason why you have her and not Addison is because Addison wasn't elected yet, and when they were creating this event, and also because I think Ruina Dooley is going to be a new. She's going to be a new mission giver at some point. So.
Okay. Cool. So from that next question, watching your stream the other day, and you talked about something that I've talked amongst other people I've played with about, like how fast we are in the game, and like how CIG is eventually going to slow it all down. And one of the things that I've like advocated for and like really want to see in the game is more places to go to without our helmets. Because I hate the fact that we have a bug that takes off our helmet, but it makes me think about we need more places to go to without our helmet. So on, like helmets need more of a reason to, let me put my helmet on, instead of the bug taking our helmet off.
Yeah. You go ahead.
Yeah, how do you guys feel about that?
I want more reasons to take your helmet off. I want more reasons not to have armor on. I want.
They told us that NPCs would react to us eventually, but that's obviously a ways away, you know.
Well, I also want places like, for instance, Orison. You land, you walk out like you're about to assault a heavily armed fortress, and you step into Orison's like customs agency. They're going to be like, bro,
relax,
go back,
stop LARPing, relax.
Yeah, you don't need that. Go back to your ship, take that stuff off, and come back in. And I think that those customs security posts, which we just kind of run through right now. Yeah. So I think that's what CIG is going to start doing. Is like, you want to go to ArcCorp Area 18, you want to go to Lorville, you want to go to New Babbage. You best showing up in your civvies, because you ain't getting in past the security with your armor and suits and stuff on. So.
That's why, I think the idea of leaving the Stanton system and we need Pyro, we need these other systems, is like, it's not that big. I don't think it's that big of a deal. It's a big enough space to build the game Star Citizen within, and obviously it's important. Jump points are important. All these things, going to new places, new stuff. But the fact that we and they, more importantly, do not have anything figured out from what a star system will look like in the future standpoint, that it's like, just walk around a landing zone now and see all of the little bits and bobs that are not turned on, like customs, these ATM machines. What are those, right? Like all these little things that, the NPCs are just a total stand on chair, don't really react to anything, disaster still. So all of these ideas of what the landing zone experience would be, I don't have a huge issue with them kind of nailing it down in the one we have now. So in the future, the future ones are a lot smoother and are just turned on, and we don't have to go through the step-by-step process that we've had to go through in Stanton.
Yeah, I agree. And I think, go ahead, sorry.
Okay. So, like, lately I've been playing the game, like, since we have the bug that takes off a helmet, I've been, like, playing around with trying to play as much of it as I can without my helmet. And I've come across more bugs of, like, air pockets between the room system, is what it's called. Where, like, I can't breathe if I stand right here in this room on Lorville.
Yeah.
And, like, it happened, or between stations and areas, you see more things, more bugs, more things that need to get fixed, bug reports, and it opens it up to people testing the game out more to make it better. And some people don't get that, to know we always need to wear our helmets.
Yeah, or it's just, there's no negative to wearing your helmet.
Yeah,
but there's certainly a negative to not, right?
Yeah. I'm also looking forward to, like, the whole, because at some point CIG said they wanted to make a armor and restrictions for, like, you couldn't wear heavy armor when you hop into a spaceship, like into a seat on the ship, because otherwise it wouldn't let you get on. Those kind of things. But I agree. There's a lot of bugs that CIG needs to fix before those things can come online. But I would prefer that, because I'm a big believer that Fashion Citizen is going to be the true end game of Star Citizen, because MMOs fashion is always the end game.
Oh yeah.
And right now there's really no purpose to wearing your clothing other than to kind of look cool. And you still risk a bunch of I'm going to die because I'm just stepping to the wrong corner of a room that apparently has no oxygen on a planet that is entirely terraformed. So, yeah, I agree.
Okay. Also, well, for the next stuff, Aerospace Expo. I'm kind of still, I would say, compared to you guys, I'm a new player, and this is my first expo. A lot of people disagree with me on how I don't think it was all that good. Compared to what people have told me of other expos, and your videos help me get through the expo on a daily basis if I want to check it out. But like, there's so much lore in all these ships and all in these locations that I don't see in the expo. Like, there's no hollow tables with information. Like, all the information is on the website where you can buy a ship, but in the game there's nothing. In these gigantic hallways, nothing. And I feel like there's a mark that's being missed in communication between the event and like information that needs to be in the event, entertainment to come and stay in the game. Don't spend all your time on the website.
Yeah, I 100% agree with that. I think most people enjoyed the expos because the first time we got the expos, and Mike can agree or disagree with this one, I think, but it was such a unique idea that we weren't expecting, that everyone was just blown away by having a car show in the verse with spaceships.
Sure.
That was amazing. But now we're on year 3 of doing this, and it's kind of reached that point of like,
with the same cars.
It's the same car show.
Yeah.
Sometimes it's new cars, but like year 2 was worse than year 1, and year 3 is better than year 2, but not as good as year 1.
Yeah.
They need those things. They need booth babes. They need the dude who's talking up the Hornet has more kills than any other ship in the UE history. Brother, you want guns? You get yourself a Hornet. You know.
It ain't drinking and driving if it's in an Argo mole. I tell you what.
Yeah, stuff like that. And from that on to, why don't we have more NPCs to talk to? Like, all we have is kiosks and like NPCs that voice stuff in certain shops, but you can't talk to nobody. That seems like a very easy thing to code.
It's a very easy thing to code comment. I'll tell you this.
I'm sure
not. Right?
Not that easy.
I've been saying, I think I said this last week, but it's not as easy as you think. Like, I've been playing this game called Eco, and one of the systems that they have in the game is a system that you can create laws. And the laws are coded with like if and then statements, which is a lot of what like the game designers are using when they make some of their missions, let's say, for example. And there's all sorts of issues that come into play. There's all sorts of, it's very difficult to understand all that stuff. And to think of my little game world that I created versus the game world of Star Citizen and having all of those things interact and work, like, nothing is easy. Even the thing that you think is the simplest thing is not easy, right? And then having it work on a server that's running at 3 frames per second is, a whole nother disaster on top of it. And that's why you don't have those things. I'm sure the NPCs work fairly well on their own servers, but I imagine that when we try to interact with them, like look at the bartender was the first example of you talking to somebody. That was their first real hard effort since the old, drop the box off guy. And it didn't work well because the servers don't work well. So why prioritize something that when you put it in game, it's not going to work anyway, right? That's why you don't have it.
Yeah.
But there is something like that already in the game. Like there's some NPCs that you can talk to, but there's nothing. They don't have anything to talk about. They're just dead conversation. What's the term?
Sure.
They don't go anywhere in the conversation. You have an option to click either this or that and think of a generic response. Like, you could easily replace that with information that you need playing the game.
You mean like talk to a bartender and get a little cargo run?
Not even the bartender. I can't think of who. Like I was somewhere and I was delivering a package and I thought to like talk to the NPC.
Yeah.
And there was like a two commit. Yeah, and there's two options that I get and they don't go anywhere. Like
how are you?
Just,
same thing. You know.
When did you back Star Citizen?
Oh, last year. I said I'm fairly new.
Okay.
Yeah.
So those guys there are these like legacy characters that I don't know if they're actually going to stay or be something or be that significant, because they were the original box delivery. Like, do you know how you drop the box off in the Amazon locker or on a shelf? You used to give it to them, but they were always broken. They never worked. They were the worst thing ever. So they're like these legacy leftover guys that just sit there, and I don't know what their plans are to do with them because they were always broken. So, yeah. So just to give you a little history on that and why it's like, oh, it would be really cool if that guy worked. They never do. So,
yeah.
They went with something simpler.
I will add to that I think the plan is for CIG is they want to do that with all NPCs. You can just stop a random NPC and be like, ask them a couple questions, or they'll just be like, hey, piss off. I don't want to talk to you. I got places to be. And that's what we were talking about with how some NPCs will react to you differently if you have a helmet on versus if you're just walking around in civilians.
Yeah.
And I think the reason why they haven't implemented that fully yet is just the sheer volume of information that they have to code every NPC with would break the servers. Because there are, right now, a lot of people don't realize there are hundreds of NPCs that wander around stations and landing zones. And it feels empty even with hundreds because these things are designed for thousands of NPCs.
Yeah.
But they're at a point where if they tried to put that system in, it would break the game.
Yeah.
Because the entity spawning is just massive in this game. It's hard to it's really hard to understand that. So
legit, with like every other aspect of what would make Star Citizen great is it has to come post server meshing.
Or post iCache.
Yeah.
I can see that.
So as somebody who's backed recently, you're probably going like, wow, this game looks really cool. Oh, there's a few really fun things for me to do, but it's not quite what I want. And just so you know, it's been that way since 2015, right? And we've been doing this since 2015, and the idea of just keep riding the ship, it'll be all right. You are in a lot better situation than most of the people who've backed because you didn't have to do it for 5 years. So you
this is true.
Yeah, you're gonna be just remain patient when it comes to that stuff and understand that if there were 4 walls to Star Citizen to build the house that you have to build the game within, there's only 2 of them that are up right now. So they're really hard they're really working hard at the last 2 pillars, I guess, to hold up the ship, and then hopefully that leads to the statement that you made earlier, like it should be easy. It should be a lot easier after that, is my understanding of how it would work. So whatever you question, like, why don't we have this, or why, this simple idea, that's typically the answer to that question, I think.
I hear you.
Yeah.
I hear you. Okay.
Yeah, man.
Another thing I want to talk about was interactive locations. Like, roaming around the city or stations and being able to read stuff on the walls, like posters and stuff, like or at the food stands and the magazines, being able to read them.
Mm-hmm.
Like,
that's coming sooner than you think. That's actually in the roadmap. One of the ideas was for they're putting, like, for instance, the door breacher and hacking. Their plan is to allow for you to hack doors open that you can't access right now for certain landing zones. So you can go to places which are restricted, that you're not supposed to go, by hacking the door open and getting in there. So it's something they want to add. They want to add that more flavor to it. But a good example of this is also like something like Skyrim or the Elder Scrolls games, where like if you look at those books and you can read some of those books, there are 500 pages of books of stuff from every single Elder Scrolls game, and they have tons and tons of these books. I would anticipate that CIG would probably write articles and magazines for every one of their magazines, and I can imagine that being a large task for the writers to do. On top of the interactables, it's going to be one of those things where it's just like me and Mike are going to say the same thing. It's something they plan on doing, but everything's broken, so they're trying to fix that first.
Yeah, like the game that you're playing now is them literally just doing what they can with the like steaming pile of crap that they can work within right now, because it's just so difficult. So there's so many things that they would love to do, but they just can't. They just can't do them. You know, and it's my hope that after server meshing, it's like, all right, they don't hit any more significant walls, and then you can actually see what you hope. Because that is what you're doing right now is what we all do at Star Citizen, is we play it, or we watch a video, or we are interacting and talking with somebody about it, and then you sort of imagine more of what your experience might be like if this was working and if that was working, but you tend to forget that there's 15 other pieces that need to touch that piece to make it possible, because it's just, we're not game developers, at least I don't think you are, and it's hard to know all the steps that go into it. As best as they attempt to teach us, I think it's an impossible task to help us understand what their day-to-day is like, and why they prioritize one thing over another, without us actually being like, you know, looking over their shoulder and watching what their day-to-day is.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's tough. We all want more from Star Citizen, but like my theme for this year is we ain't getting shit, and it's just going to be little tweaks to what we already have to make it as good as possible while we're waiting for them to actually be able to make it. And I have no issue with that. It is what it is.
Yeah, I've always gone by the mind frame of, if it's not in the game, it isn't real.
Okay, like, that's fair.
Play what you got.
Yeah.
Things that people are talking about, if it's isn't in the game yet, then it don't matter.
Yeah.
Enjoy what it is now.
Yeah, I tried to do the same thing
that you can.
That's a healthy attitude for playing this game right now. If you can't enjoy the game right now, then don't play the game. Don't back the game unless you think you could enjoy it right now. Just because there's a lot of maybes, and we don't know when it's going to come out. We know it's going to probably eventually come out in some way. That's a lot of probably maybes and conditionals in that sentence. So, you know, you can't be buying video games based off of promises alone. So
yeah. And that's how I feel I've always played SC, was play what's in front of you and try to make it as fun as possible. The one downfall of that is, and I'm hearing it from you a little bit, is that okay, I'm playing this thing and I see these things around me. Why aren't they prioritizing those things? And because that would make my experience in this game better. But what I'm learning more and more over I would say like the last year and a half of trying to understand, like, why would you prioritize something like prisons now? Why would you prioritize something like XYZ now? When it would have made a whole lot more sense to make this side of the game more enjoyable. They don't care about this. It's not that they don't care about the game now, but it's they're working towards what the end would be, not what the now is, in almost every situation.
No, I have no problem with the things that they prioritize. I know they'll come back and fix the other stuff later. Like, it's just, as I'm playing things, I know, as you say, I notice things and I have questions about, but no one I talk to about it has the answers of why things were done this way. So I don't know what's something that's going to get fixed later or something that was different before. Like the NPCs next to the Amazon boxes. Like, I didn't know that they used to give the packages to them.
Yep.
And it was broken.
Yeah.
That makes sense. I get that. All right, cool. I'll wait till they fix that.
Gotcha. I understand. I guess I'm projecting onto you a little bit then, because like for me, that tends to be what happens. I'm like, man, you know, if you like look at these box delivery missions, man, just work on them. But it's not that simple, clearly.
Yeah.
You know, because that would be a really good experience for a lot of players. And if you like, hey, we put in cargo decks, but nobody ever uses them. Why? You know, there's so many whys, and that's the one thing about their communication that I still think they're really poor with. Is that, you know, they talked up cargo decks like crazy, and it's like, well, what is this? Why? I don't get it, and nobody has explained it to me either yet. I don't understand. So yeah, that's one of the things. Like, hey, you know, here's your cargo deck. We had time to do it, so we did it. It helped us make refinery decks probably better, but now what? You know. So what's the plan there? Why are they just sitting there not being worked on? Why did you reprioritize? That's what I would love to see from them from a communication standpoint this year. Is a little bit better with that. Other than that, I think they've been amazing. I think Jared's done a great job with ISC. SCL is whatever, but you know, it's just a bunch of guys sitting on a camera. But the ISC has been really good.
Okay.
Yeah. I feel your pain there.
So, last topic I want to talk about: the PTU versus the PU. Playing with some people, a lot of people, I've learned that like some people play the PTU like it's the actual game, and the PU is just for the plebs, if you will. Where like with Xenothreat and people in the PTU learning to figure out how to do each of the events, then they come into the PTU and they're telling everyone who never played the PTU that, like, no, this is how you do it. This is how it's supposed to be done, and we're going to DPS it and get through it as quickly as possible. Which is now everyone knows how to DPS Xeno for phase 3, and they're breezing through it in 10 minutes.
Yeah.
And like, can you think of steps to prevent this or encourage people to, I don't know, because even having the Xeno come out to the PU, it's gone through so much faster than I thought it was going to be compared to the PTU.
It's like 2 weeks less, you know.
I thought some of these things would go on, like each phase would be like a week long, at least. But
I think phase 3 was so bad they ended it early.
Yeah,
I think phase 3 probably was intended to go on for a week, but it just like everybody killed a million Idrises, and it was like, okay, might as well end it.
Yeah, I think the one thing they could learn from this is phase 2 was good because no matter if you knew what you were doing, it still took you 2 hours. It was still a complicated, complex event.
Yeah.
And one thing that they should learn, they should really learn from it is combining phase 2 and phase 3 into one phase.
Yeah.
That should have been, you've done this and the javelin's away, but now as a result, the Idrises are now going to attack Jericho Station, and now everyone has to defend Jericho Station for the last hurrah, last big stand of Xenothreat, because they know that they can't deal with it, so they're trying to push as hard as they can. That would have been a great climactic ending where you've spent 2 hours moving boxes, and now it's time for that 15 minutes of pure, unadulterated, ballistic mayhem of destroying an Idris, several Idrises in a round. Yeah. But
yeah, okay. But then how do you make a nice long month-long event? It has to go in phases, but
well, you can also I think that's the key, is to learn how to make. I think what CIG needs to learn to do is learn to space these out, to make several missions and space them out. The problem about that is it's going to require resources. It's going to require a team to build 4 or 5 different stages of these things, which are like that phase 2, but happen over the courses of weeks or months. And it's also going to require the lore team to work with them to go, okay, so what would be the natural result of this? How do we track this out? So have a writing team kind of come in and write out the progression of why this would happen from this. So
sure,
I think they could do it, and I think that would probably be the biggest. Essentially, make missions which are not completable, or that are not completable by simply a end state, like kill this Idris. Okay, it's done. Something that's more disable this Idris. Go find this document. Go take this document from the Idris to another place, and then drop it off.
Yeah.
And have stages where you have to fight through waves, or you have to stop, or whatever, like things that will slow the players down, that require cooperation with NPCs or other entities, rather than just nuke this thing to death.
I think that answered his question perfectly.
True. Because I thought that, like, I didn't even know phase 2 was phase 2 until phase 3 came.
Yeah.
I thought phase
I thought it was phase 1 too. Oh, wait, phase 1 is the message? Yeah, I feel like the message would have
a prologue or something.
That would have been nice if that was going on for weeks or like a month before the event happened, and we didn't know it was going to happen. The problem was obviously CIG wanted to fast forward through it.
Huge missed opportunity. No armistice zones at stations, like, and you mentioned this earlier, Astro, was that you pop out of stations, all of a sudden you're getting attacked, like Xenothreat attacking just in fighters outside the stations.
Yeah.
There's security NPCs fighting them off, and they're just fighting each other, and then you come in and help, right? Stage 1, right there.
Simple.
Then,
Stage 1.
Now they're attacking.
These messages. Yeah. Every week there's a new message that's being sent out that randomly pops up onto your screen of like surrender, we're coming for you, we're gonna get you, and then suddenly it builds this tension. And I think that's the one thing that failed with this mission, is that phase 1 didn't build tension. Phase 2 was fun, but then phase 3 was anticlimactic.
Right. Like I was expecting to be overwhelmed with Xeno messages. Like Dooley lady is constantly coming up and be like so irritated with Xeno that like I'm definitely gonna go and kill him.
Yeah.
Because I'm tired of the messages.
True. We need help. Desperately need help. Everything is going wrong. Please help us.
Yeah.
We are overwhelmed.
Yeah.
Agreed. What's the other half? Idris. Killing the Idris is agreeable. It's way too easy. I didn't think that they would allow us to do it right in the phase. I thought that would be the main extension of things, that like we would be so overrun of just regular fighters that no one would even get to the Idris. Like I was hoping that they didn't like make it give it like invincibility powers like in other MMOs. You have to get through all the ads first before you can do any damage to the Idris. But glad they didn't do it that way. But I'm just upset that like there aren't enough fighters to feel overwhelmed by the Idris before even getting to the Idris. And watching SE live, I was like, okay, it makes sense.
Yeah.
Why they couldn't do those things. Just no. Just a lot of hype and expectation that reasonably couldn't come through.
Yeah.
It was like a firework that didn't work, right? It kind of just went like,
yeah.
and then never blew up. It was kind of, that's what it was. But that's okay. For me, as long as they learn from this experience and then the next event is better because of it. And Star Citizen, every patch, it does get better. Like sometimes we have more desync or like whatever, like unforeseen issues arise. But the actual underlying game of Star Citizen every quarter has gotten better and better and better. And 2020 was a year where it got significantly better from a, I don't know, not necessarily gameplay standpoint, but from a quality of life standpoint. Just the little things, the little add-ons that they've done, it's always gotten better. And I just hope they have the same learning experiences and improvements on something like this, and I think they will.
Yeah.
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 But all right,
Okay.
yeah, go ahead.
It's a learning experience. So
lastly,
yeah,
I hate the Cuddy.
Why?
Everyone gets someone that talks about how the Cuddy is so great and amazing. It's ugly. It's
form
ugly.
over function over form in that case. It's a function over form thing.
There's so many things it's missing. It's a death trap, and people need to know that it's a death trap and it's ugly, and don't buy it.
Well, I tell you what, because people talk so much about it because there is no death, that there's no consequence to death yet. But you have a really good point. Is that when consequence to death comes, are people actually going to be flying that ship, or are they all going to be melting it for something else? You know?
Mm-hmm.
So
True.
I think you're on to something there. That's for sure. But all right. Yeah, we're gonna leave it there with that, and right, I appreciate your call, man. That was a lot of fun. We talked about all sorts of cool topics.
Awesome. I've been trying to make time to get onto the shows.
I appreciate it. I appreciate you coming. It was fun. Make some time again in the future. I look forward to talking to you.
Awesome.
Right,
you guys have a good day.
You too. Happy Valentine's Day. All right, Astro. So we've come to the end. I do appreciate you coming on. It was a lot of fun. We talked about all sorts of different stuff. You make me want to read the lore, but more importantly, instead of reading it, I think I'm just going to watch your videos instead. So
just watch my videos. It's
fine. So I'll do the same as you. Subscribe, please, to the AstroPub's YouTube channel. For those of you watching in Twitch chat, I will post a link for you guys. But if you're watching on YouTube, we will put the link down in the description. But is there anything that you want to chat about, or anything you have upcoming that you would like to share with the people watching?
I think the big thing that's coming out is I've decided that I'm going to be nuts. And I'm going to hopefully this week release a 30+ minute video on the entire history of Anvil Aerospace and a breakdown of all of the Anvil Aerospace ships, save for one, which is the Carrack. And the only reason why I'm not talking about the Carrack is because I did a 10-minute video on the Carrack earlier. Okay. So that'll be. I don't want to rehash old stories of something I did because it's got a lot of lore too.
Sure.
So that's going to be an insane amount of work, but it's going to be fun, I think, in the end. And I'm also going to update the my smuggling guides for with all that information that you guys got here early on.
Yeah.
With your with the slam route. So yeah. Slam is king.
Yes. So all right. Well, I guess we'll leave it there. Again, twitch.tv, TheAstroPub, YouTube, TheAstroPub everywhere. He is also a member of the Name Change Club.
Yes.
And
I changed my name.
Smartly changed his name to something that works, that he has everything everywhere, right? So you can find AstroPub, just Google it, nice and easy. But yeah, again, thank you so much for coming on with me. Everybody was like, you're going to have AstroPub on? He has a wife. It's Valentine's Day. I go, nobody goes to dinner at 9 o'clock in the morning. Relax.
No one does. And on top of that, my wife, this is going to sound weird, but my wife and I are both like, we don't want to know.
Yeah.
We'll just watch a movie together. We'll have some food and watch a movie together.
We're married. Yeah. We don't have to do this stuff anymore. Like that's how we are too. It's like we don't have to do this stuff. It's fine. But all right,
It's
Astro. Yeah, we'll let you go. I'm very much looking forward to that Anvil Aerospace video, and honestly, I think I'm gonna make it a fairly regular occurrence to watch some lore videos on my stream. So I'm very excited.
There's something like 60 hours. There's like 60 hours of content that I've produced. So
perfect. Easy content. I can yoik. Nice.
Yes. Steal it. Steal it. Promote it.
Yes, exactly. By stealing, it will be promoting. But yeah, I appreciate it, and yeah, I hope you have a great day, and yeah, let's talk some more soon. And
yeah, I have to get you on the captain's table again at some point. We'll do another Wednesday captain's table sometime in the future.
When you're not in, like, when school's out, right? So I guess maybe we could do it like Easter break.
Yeah,
is there another break
March,
before then?
So
yeah,
that's probably the best time. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. Plan for it. Yeah. Message me when you want me, and I'll be there.
Will do.
All right, brother. Thank you so much for coming on. Everybody who's watching, as always, leave a like, comment, all that stuff down below. If you're watching on Twitch and you didn't catch the whole show, it will be posted on YouTube later today. If you're watching on YouTube and you want to ever partake in the show, there's links to my Discord down below. That's where we, off stream, pretty active community, but that's where you will come on the show and call in, or watch at twitch.tv/SaltEMike. Just like Astro, SaltEMike everywhere, and you should be able to find it. So I hope you guys enjoyed it, and we'll see you next week. Bye, everybody.